Ever wondered what a Vlan is and how it works? Welcome to our deep dive into the world of virtual local area networks, otherwise known as VLANs. In the simplest terms, a Vlan is a group of devices on one or more LANs that are configured to communicate as if they were attached to the same wire, when in reality they are located on a number of different LAN segments. Because VLANs are based on logical instead of physical connections, they are extremely flexible. In our increasingly connected digital world, understanding VLANs is more important than ever. Over the course of this video, we'll be exploring the basics of VLANs, how they work, and even how to set one up. We'll make sure to break things down in an easy-to-understand way, so whether you're a seasoned IT professional or just getting started in the field, you'll find something to learn. So, are you ready to delve deeper into the world of VLANs? Let's start peeling back the layers. To understand VLANs, we need to start with the basics. You might already be familiar with LANs or local area networks. These are simply a collection of devices connected to each other in a localized area like a home, office, or school. LANs allow for the sharing of resources among devices on the same network. But what if we could make this even more efficient and secure? That's where VLANs or virtual local area networks come into play. VLANs take the concept of a LAN and elevate it to another level. At its core, a Vlan is a strategy to virtually separate or partition a physical network into multiple, distinct broadcast domains. This means that even though you might have multiple devices physically plugged into the same switch, they can operate as if they are on completely separate networks. This separation provides two main benefits. Firstly, it improves network performance. In a traditional LAN, all devices share the same broadcast domain. This can lead to a lot of unnecessary network traffic as devices constantly broadcast to each other. By contrast, in a VLAN, only devices in the same virtual network share a broadcast domain. This reduces network traffic and improves overall performance. Secondly, VLANs enhance security. By separating devices into different virtual networks, you can control which devices can communicate with each other. This makes it much harder for an attacker to move laterally across your network if they manage to compromise a device. So, in a nutshell, a VLAN is like a LAN with superpowers. It takes the basic concept of a LAN, a group of devices sharing resources, and makes it more efficient and secure by allowing you to create multiple virtual networks on the same physical infrastructure. Now that we've covered the basics, it's time to look at how VLANs work. So how does a VLAN actually function? Let's dive right in. The magic of VLANs lies in the way they create separate, isolated networks within the same physical infrastructure. To understand this, imagine your network as a bustling city. Just as city districts divide the urban landscape into manageable, distinct areas, VLANs do the same for your network. Let's start with the first step. When a device sends data, it doesn't just throw it into the network hoping it'll reach the destination. Instead, it sends the data to a network switch. This switch is like the city's traffic controller, ensuring that data, like vehicles, gets to the right place. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The network switch assigns the data to a specific VLAN based on certain rules. This is like directing traffic into specific districts. Once the data is assigned to a VLAN, it can only be transferred within that VLAN. It's as if the data has entered a district from which it can't leave. This means that devices in one VLAN can't directly communicate with devices in another VLAN, providing an additional layer of security and efficiency. But what happens when data needs to be transferred between VLANs? Well, that's where a router comes in. Acting like a bridge between districts, the router allows data to move from one VLAN to another. But remember, this doesn't happen automatically. The router must be configured to allow this inter-VLAN communication. The network switch plays a crucial part in all this. By creating VLANs, it allows for better management of network traffic, improved security, and increased efficiency. It's as if we've built a network of roads, bridges, and traffic lights, all within our city of devices. So, in essence, a VLAN functions by creating separate networks within a larger network, directing data traffic efficiently, and providing an extra layer of security. It's a smart, efficient way to manage your network. With that, we've covered the working of VLANs. But how do we set up a VLAN? Let's move on to that next. Setting up a VLAN might seem daunting, but it's simpler than you think. Let's break it down into manageable steps. Firstly, you need to decide on the type of VLAN you want to set up. There are two main types, static and dynamic. Static VLANs are manually configured, while dynamic VLANs automatically assign devices based on their characteristics. Once you've decided on the type, the next step is to configure your network switch. This involves logging into the switch's management interface and creating the VLAN. You'll need to assign a unique identification number to the VLAN, typically between 1 and 4096. Remember, each VLAN should have a unique ID to avoid confusion. Next, you need to assign ports to your VLAN. This is where the devices connected to your network will be grouped. You can assign them manually for a static VLAN or set criteria for dynamic VLANs. The fourth step involves configuring the VLAN interface. This is where you'll set the IP address and subnet mask for the VLAN. This information is critical in routing traffic between VLANs. Lastly, you need to verify your setup. This is done by running a command that displays the VLAN configuration. If all the information is correct, your VLAN is ready to go. And that's it. You've now set up your very own VLAN. Let's quickly recap what we've learned today. We dove into the world of VLANs, understanding its essence as a network strategy that allows for the logical grouping of network nodes, irrespective of their physical location. We've highlighted its benefits, notably the increased efficiency and security it offers. We also explored how VLANs function and walked through the steps to set one up. Remember, in our modern interconnected world, mastering VLANs is key. With that, we've demystified VLANs for you. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of virtual networking. Until next time.